Do your knees sound like a bowl of crunchy cereal every time you go on the stairs? That snap, crackle, pop is not just annoying, it's a massive clue about what's happening underneath your kneecap. Today, I'm going to show you why your knees are so crunchy and give you a plan to stop the noise and pain for good. And so, the knees actually have two bones coming together, and then in the very front, we have the kneecap that slides up and down. Let me go ahead and show you a picture. So there's one bone, there's the other bone, and the kneecap sits in front, and it slides up and down as you flex and extend your knee. You could think of it as the kneecap like a train slightly off its tracks. Every time you step up, it's grinding against the side instead of gliding smoothly. And so that's what creates the discomfort. Let's formulate a knee preservation plan. We have a three-part toolkit. We're going to look at some specific exercises, how you can support your knee with kinesio tape, and also one of those Chopat straps. I'm going to show you how that works. And finally, some anti-inflammatory nutrition recommendations. So for exercises, you can do what's called a semi-squat. You're going to stand in front of a chair and you're going to bend the knees just slightly to hover over the chair seat, keeping in mind that you want your knees to stay well behind your toes. Sometimes when we bend over, the knees go forward. We don't want that. Make sure that you stick your butt out so that your knees go and stay well behind the toes. So that semi-squat and hover over the chair. And clamshells. So clamshell exercises, you're laying on your side and your feet are together and your knees are together. You're going to just lift the top knee, keeping your feet together, almost like your legs were a clamshell. And when that gets too easy, you can actually put an exercise band around your thigh to provide some resistance to that. So those clamshells, those are both great exercises. Another one is going to be leg back extensions. Now you may recognize this as the cobra pose from yoga. It's not quite like that because we're going to be doing a baby cobra to start with. That means that your elbows are bent, so you're not lifted up quite so dramatically. So you start in the baby cobra position, slight bend in the knee, and lift the leg up. Be careful not to arch your back. So that leg extension, not arching your back, is another good exercise. Some of the activities that you're going to want to avoid until your muscles get stronger: running or jogging, climbing stairs or hills, knee bends, squatting or kneeling, and step aerobics. Does anybody do that anymore? I don't really hear so much about that and haven't seen it going on in the gym. In any case, if they're around, that's probably something you want to avoid for a while. Now let's talk about some ways you can support your knee. Kinesio tape is one. So here is a strip of kinesio tape. It's actually on a backing that prevents it from stretching, but once we take the backing off, you'll see that this kinesio tape stretches a bit. And that's different than the regular white athletic tape, which is non-stretchy. Whenever you're applying kinesio tape, you want to make sure that the ends are firmly anchored. We don't stretch the ends or it's going to be constantly pulling on your skin, and that's very uncomfortable. Another thing I like to do, fold the tape strips in half and just make a cut to round these edges. so it doesn't get stuck as much. So now you have your strip of tape. Again, this is the backing. I like rock tape. There's other tapes that you can use, but they all have a bit of a stretch. So let's look at some of the ideas of how you could apply that. So here I've made a drawing, and now we can all see why I am not a graphic artist, but we have two different options here. This is the knee, so you can see the femur and the tibia, and here's the patella, the kneecap in the front, and this leg is slightly bent. So when you apply the kinesio tape, you're sitting down with the knee in the bent position. First strip, you're going to start anchoring it here. Remember what I said about not stretching the ends of the band. So take the paper off the back and the ends and smooth it. You can see it's going out to the side here and below the knee. And you anchor that strip, and then you come up around the knee, and it doesn't quite go together at the top, just around and anchor at the top again. No stretch at the ends. Same thing, other side. So now you're going to start at the inside of the knee and go out and around and up to the top. And again, they don't quite meet at the top. Don't stretch the ends. Another option is in this picture over here. We're doing it a little bit differently. The first strip, we're going to start at the outer edge here and anchor that strip, and then go over the kneecap area and pull it to the inside and anchor it again with non-stretching ends. Then we have another strip, and it's going to curve slightly because it's going just on the outside of the kneecap. What we would really like to see is the edge of the kneecap is in about the middle of this strip here. So we anchor it just below the knee, and then you go up around the kneecap. So this is the middle, this is the outside. So we go up around the outside, keeping the edge of the kneecap in about the middle of this strip. And so that's going to help to hold the kneecap, prevent it from going out to the side. So you can experiment with these two different options of taping and see what works for you. Another option to help support, you've probably seen them in the store, it's called a Chopat, which is like an abbreviation for chondromalacia patella. It's a strap, but on the back side, it actually has like a little tube or something to give it a bit of a ridge. So what you're going to do is you put that strap around just below your knee, so that little tube is just under your kneecap. Not too tight because you don't want to cut off circulation. So that's another option for support. The kinesio tape, the Chopat strap. Finally, let's look at some nutritional information. I've mentioned in multiple videos about the importance of inflammation, and it's associated with a lot of problems. But one of the things we know inflammation does is it creates pain. And so anytime you have a painful condition, thinking about anti-inflammatory measures is a good idea. In this case, things like ginger and turmeric, which are regular spices, or you can go to the produce department, get a ginger root or a turmeric root, and you can grate them up so they're fresh. One of my patients gave me a wonderful idea for an anti-inflammatory smoothie. And anytime she gets injured, she likes to make this. So pineapple and papaya both have wonderful enzymes to help with inflammation. So she makes the smoothie with pineapple and papaya, and then you can put a little bit of ginger and turmeric in there as well. It's really delicious. I will say though, Pineapple and papaya are about the highest sugar fruits that there are. So if you've had any problem with sugar, that smoothie idea is probably not a good one for you. But you can get the same enzymes in just about any health food store. They usually label it as digestive enzymes. And so you can get those enzymes and get similar sort of effect. Of course, the fruit has the vitamin C, which is great for tissue healing, and those enzyme tablets don't have that. Make sure you put in the comments box any ideas for future topics that you'd like to see. Make sure and like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.